And we're live. Coming back at you for round 3.
Round 3.
We have Dayton Magic Club Presents live here at Gamehaven. I'm Ryan Johnson.
No, Ross.
Doing your commentary for you here tonight. An exciting round 3 of 5. Here we have some interesting decks. And Mike Walters will be...
What is happening?
Oh, we're having a little technical difficulty in the booth. It was entirely my fault. I take full responsibility for it. And I apologize. We're back.
We're back. We're back in action. Very good.
Mike Walters.
Mike Walters on the left.
Playing red-green. Don't know.
He's playing Celestia.
Mike Walters? Is
Did
he? No, he told me red-green.
Oh, did he?
I just talked to him.
Oh, my bad. I apologize.
Playing green X aggro.
There you go.
David Martin. On your right.
There you go.
Playing white, red, black, mid-range.
White, red, black, mid-range.
You better believe there's going to be some Blood Barons of Viscopa.
Yes, there are.
And other cards that you play in a deck with Blood Baron of Viscopa.
I think that David won the die roll.
All right.
Yeah, I expect to see some Anger of the Gods, some Blood Barons, probably some...
Does it go all the way up to the Obsidian? Maybe?
Probably.
You can make that mana work. That seems so horrible. Mana seems so bad. But I guess, you scry and you play a bunch of lands and you just get there.
This particular deck has seen some success with this past weekend's events.
He does not like that 7.
He does not like that 7. My feeling is that this deck does not mulligan well.
It's very possible.
3 mana, and none of them are blue. So... chances are good he won't be able to dig out.
Yeah. And plus, it plays like 5 drops.
Plays a lot of 5 drops.
So, like, you not only need your colors, but you need raw number of lands of the specific colors to get there. So, but you're rewarded with this little bit of a greedier style of play by playing some very powerful cards.
High impact cards.
Yes.
He's going to have access to, like, the best removal that you can get.
And some of the best creatures.
He's probably playing Rakdos' Return.
Yes,
and
very powerful.
Thoughtseize probably. And he says, you know
I
what?
did not see a land in that hand.
6 is not enough. I need 5.
Well, this is not going David's way so far.
Yes. If Mike is not currently shaking a fist, he is in his mind.
Yes. Especially since Mike Walters' deck is capable of some aggressive starts.
Yeah, Mike could get off to an amazing start, and there could be no response from David whatsoever.
I think your optimal 5 against Mike Walters here, not that David necessarily knows what Mike is playing, but if he did, might be 2-3 lands, 2-3 removal spells. And just give yourself enough time to draw into your more powerful end game. So that's kind of what you're looking for here. You can wait. You can play the creatures or whatever after you stabilize. Let's kill the early onslaught to make our land drops. Let's draw our way back into this.
He needs to find an Anger of the Gods
to make up some of those cards.
Yep. If he can 2 for 1, 3 for 1. He's
3 for 1, Mike Walters. He just undid them all again.
Yeah, he'll feel a lot better.
So let's see
if he's able to hit a Blood Baron though. It sometimes is enough.
Sometimes it's just like a single card that just wins the game. Like that card is really, really powerful.
Considering it is pro-black, pro-white, not that big a deal. Oh, you got a Change of the Rocks. That's going to be important.
And
a Temple, yeah.
Okay.
That could be good. However, Change of the Rocks does not go on Temples.
It is not chained to the Temple.
It is not
Got to have some rocks.
The people... He's playing green. The people in the temple do not want monsters chained to it.
No. So,
he says...
That's all his colors.
Is that a Blood Crypt?
That is a Guildgate, Rakdos Guildgate.
Oh. Mike says, I'm in for 1.
Yes.
David's thinking, okay. And
another experiment 1?
And another experiment 1. There you go.
Setting up for a pretty decent turn 3. Which could be met by a very good turn 3 from David with Anger of the Gods.
Yeah, right here, if he plays land Anger of the Gods, he's feeling really confident.
Maybe you hold it up for one more turn. It's possible.
Maybe you do. If Yeah. Let's think about this.
That is a Blood Crypt tapped.
So chances are good that he didn't have an Anger of the Gods, or probably didn't want to play it.
Yeah.
Mike says Forest.
Nice looking Forest.
It's a good looking Forest. And he says
Smiter.
Smiter.
Well, if you're hoping to hit another creature that anger, it did not pay off.
That's the one guy that old Anger of the Gods is not too effective against.
So this is another of the green-white decks. We talked about the different builds here. This one is playing Smiter. Definitely playing Experiment 1. It is certainly a powerful deck, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of it. Yep, there's that anger.
There's the anger.
And
David says, you know what?
Chain it.
Let's just chain that elephant to this rock.
Well, man,
that is an effective play right there.
that was not a bad turn.
Well done.
Not, and is he Mizium Mortars in his hand? It looks like maybe.
Change of the Rocks is a real flavor milkshake right there.
It is, and also just a really good Magic card.
It's great. It has some unique characteristics in the fact that you have to enchant a mountain that you control, and it costing 1 white gives it some limitations.
That is
That's going to be a
Temple
worm.
Pass from David Martin meets a Temple from Worm from Mike Walters.
And we got our Commander-in-Chief.
Yep.
He's a 5/5 Obama token. Now,
gotta find something to keep his time.
He may right here have to shut down for a couple weeks.
I was gonna say he's got some spare time these days now that there's not a government to run. So
yeah, he says I'm gonna go ahead and bestow this.
That is roughly every point of damage.
That's a 9/7.
And 1 removal spell is not good enough.
And 1. What's he got?
He is shuffling that hand at a rapid pace.
Now, one thing to consider right here is that Worm token is a green-only Worm token, even though Advent of Worm is a green-white spell.
This is true.
If it were a green-white token, right here would be awesome for David.
What was that? Is that a...
This here's a Blood Baron.
That is a Blood Baron of Vizcopa.
So, David Martin is at 6 life. Mike is considering his attack. He's got a 9/7. He says, you know what?
How about that?
Let's just make it out of reach right here. That should do the trick.
That should do the trick. David Martin is tapped out. That is... Boon Satyr is a very powerful Magic card.
Yeah. Mike was able to curve out really well right there, and then start strapping Boon Satyrs to stuff.
Yeah.
That feels really good.
Yeah. Now, with that said, Dave Martin did mold a 5 and really fought back pretty effectively.
He was not out of that game.
But Mike Walters got to put a lot of power on the table at instant speed.
Yes.
Which is tricky. A lot of David Martin, not a lot, a relevant amount of David Martin's removal spells are sorcery speed.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, the big one, the hammer, does 3 damage.
Yeah.
So, Anger of the Gods, you got to keep it in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You got to keep it in. It's good, especially when you're back on the play. What kind of cards you're David Martin? We'll play this game. What kind of cards are you looking for?
I'm looking for more removal.
Yeah.
Some way to... I don't know. What's he got there? Wear and Tear? I think he's considering Wear and Tear.
Wear and Tear for the Boon Satyrs.
Wear and Tear for the Boon Satyr.
We talked about how sweet you bringing in enchantment removal for those Boon Satyrs is.
Yes.
They're always an enchantment. They're just sometimes not a creature. That's a pithing needle at the end.
Yeah.
That's not going to
won't bring that in. I don't think Mike is packing any activated abilities.
No. Just big men.
Just big men.
Just big, dumb men.
And if he has removal in the form of Heroes...
Downfall?
That might be a good choice.
Basically, you need a critical mass of removal that doesn't care about toughness.
Exactly.
Because half of Mike Walters' guys are huge.
Yes.
Half of them are very vulnerable to things like Anger of the Gods and Mizium Mortars. The other half are just these enormous men that just don't care.
Right.
So, Mizium Mortars potentially very good. as another Wrath type effect. It goes all the way up to Smiter.
Yeah.
Worth pointing out, Mike Walters playing the version of this deck that plays all the 3-drops. It didn't choose between Smiter and Boon Satyr. It said they're both good enough that I want them both.
Absolutely. I did not see anything but Advent Worm that makes tokens.
That's true.
He may be playing those. We just didn't see him.
I would be surprised if there was not at least Voice of Resurgence.
I would. Oh, you guarantee there's Voice of Resurgence. We just didn't see that. But if he's not playing, what is it? Makes a Centaur. What's it called?
Oh, Call the Conclave.
Call the Conclave. If he's not playing that, he's probably not packing Rootborn Defenses.
I would say that's likely, although you may board it in.
He may board it in, which would be a really good choice.
Yes.
He may be playing God's Willing or Brave the Elements, but probably not. I saw a lot of green.
Yep. Any of those cards would be good.
Yeah.
So we'll see if we can get both players to keep a 7-card hand. That'd be nice.
That would be a huge benefit for both these players.
A lot of mulligans in these last couple of rounds.
Mike saw the Blood Baron, so he may want to bring in some way to deal with that card.
I don't know what his best option is.
Now, the best card that there is for a white-green deck to deal with Blood Baron is Celestial Flare.
Yes, this is true.
Considering how many creatures David has and that we saw, Mike may not even waste that slot. Although it could be the difference in a win and a loss.
Yeah, and you know, Celestial Flare, one of the nice things that it does is in a big, like, scrum, like we saw last round, between Kyle McDaniel and
Barlow. Mike.
A lot of creatures attacking, you know, getting that extra creature off the board can really throw off that combat. Turn a profitable attack into a non-profitable attack.
Exactly. We drew our 7.
David Martin is the pair-up in this round. Mike Walters currently 2-0. David Martin 1-0-1.
1-0-1. Interesting.
I don't know what he drew against.
I don't either.
But
Mike does not like his hand. Apparently David went to time.
But
David likes his hand. Mike didn't. Presenting
Mike Walters' deck mulligans fairly well, I would assume.
Yeah.
Low curve, a lot of redundancy.
Yep.
2 colors.
Cheap big dudes.
Yep.
Which cheap big dudes is he going to get? Well, he got some cheap big dudes.
Yep. Some lands to cast them.
Yep. And that's basically the thinking. David goes with Temple.
And we're going to see Experiment 1.
See
No,
Dreadnought. Okay. Just another Savannah Lion there.
Yep.
It loses a lot of effectiveness after the rotation of Innistrad Block, which had Flashback, Snapcaster Mage,
yeah, for sure.
were very effective.
Basically just a Savannah Lion.
And at this point, it's a Savannah Lion. He says Experiment 1, Swing 2.
Still good for Ooze, says our director, which
Angry.
I have no idea, because Ooze only gets bigger if it eats creatures. But
Yeah. It's good for Deathrite Shaman.
it is.
Which is not that well represented.
That is a first main line.
As we've talked about earlier in the night, Deathrite Shaman loses some effectiveness.
Chain to the Rocks. I was going to say no, but that's not true. There's very few ways to actually get it off the board.
Well, yes, that is true. He does have Chain to the Rocks, which would take care of it. But if Fleece Mainline...
Oh, if it was Monstrous, it's hexproof as well.
It's hexproof.
What a ridiculous combination of abilities.
Yeah. Yes, he can Chain to the Rocks right now.
Right.
It gains hexproof and indestructibility.
That is a ridiculous combination.
Which is a very painful combination of abilities for anybody.
Especially the control deck. To try.
Yes. But it is still white.
Yes.
And if he's able to hit a Blood Baron, it does not matter.
That's a good point. Blood Baron, really a very powerful card in this matchup. Oh,
he says, Boros Reckoner, go. Now,
You
if
could
Mike
see-
says land monstrous, that card is not very good.
Yeah, and we may
and chances
see
are that's what's going to happen.
We're gonna see
He's
an
going to
attack.
swing in. He's going to say block, and
Monstrous
he's going
in
to say
response.
monstrous. Now, he's going to probably deal Mike 4 damage.
Yep.
And
might
say,
as
good.
well.
He says, go again.
And he's once again choking on lands a little bit, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, now that Mike's Fleeceman Lion is indestructible and untargetable.
Basically, David Martin's out to that, like you were talking about, was make those land drops play Blood Baron.
Yep.
He's not making the land drops.
He's not making
which
land
is turning
drops.
off Blood Baron as an out.
And Mike is making land drops.
And he's playing another Fleeceman Lion, which he gets to untap and make monstrous.
He still has some cards in hand. Looks like he's got to
That's
Advent
an
Worm,
for sure.
which is a very effective card.
I've heard that it's a pretty good Magic the Gathering.
Yes. And it just so happens that he has 4 mana up, which is exactly where he wants to be. David's thinking, oh dear.
That is a good impression of David Martin right now.
He's wishing that he had like 2 more lands so he could play.
I don't see a Blood Baron in his hand, but again, he shuffles that hand
He's
at a rapid pace.
Yeah, he's got the pro shuffle here.
Yep. Thinking of what are his outs.
He's going to chain something to the rocks.
Yep, might as well get that other Fleeceman line off
He
the
says
board.
that's fine. He says,
That gives you enough time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not anymore, but theoretically,
Yes.
you could just hit your running land drops and play Blood Baron. But Blood Baron no longer a perfect out because the Worm token, as we talked about before,
is a green.
is green. It is not white.
He's all green all the time. It also has trample, which is legitimate.
Just playing the best creatures in the world.
If David were to play another, oh dear,
And here's a Smiter just
and a
because.
smiter because he's rubbing it in.
You're a monster, Mike Walters.
Mike the Monster Walters.
I've heard that said about him.
Mm-hmm. David is just wishing so much right now that he could find it.
But there was any kind of hope or sanity left in this world.
He says, "Man, I wish I had a couple more swamps and just play Mutilate." Doesn't, and that's that.
That is unfortunately that.
Well, that didn't go anywhere close to the way that Mr. Martin wanted
Would
it
have
to go.
sculpted that. He wanted to go spot removal.
Yep.
Spot removal.
Yep.
Sweeper. Big creature you can't deal with. You're dead.
Mm.
That's really the plan of these black, white, red decks.
Yeah.
But instead, it was can't hit my land drops on
Yep.
time. You can't interact with your guys
Nope.
before they get out of range. Die.
Die. Mike's deck did exactly what it wants to do.
You know, one of the benefits to playing the aggro deck
Yes.
in these, especially in these new rotations, you know, there's this school of thought that says aggro is always better and more popular in a brand new format than by the end of the format. And one of the reasons for that is that when you don't know what the attacker's going to be doing, it's much harder to build the right control deck.
Yep.
It's better to be the one asking the questions than the one trying to answer them.
Yep.
And when the control decks are still trying to figure out what's my perfect mana base, what's my perfect mix of removal, the aggro deck just says, every time you stumble, I'm just going to kill you.
Exactly.
What we saw there is that David missed a land drop or two, and Mike just pounced.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a 5/5. Here's a 4/4. Here's a 4/4, hexproof, indestructible.
Indestructible.
And, you know, it was just this array of answers. Well, I can just play a whole bunch of cheap guys. And if you count on, like, Mizium Mortars, it might be too late.
Mm-hmm.
But if you count on just on Anger of the Gods to kill all my cheap guys, I have all these big guys at the other end of the curve. So you're telling a control deck you have to draw the right removal spell at the right time to answer the threat. And if your answer matches up poorly to my threat, you're just going to lose.
Yes.
So it's possible that maybe, you know, there's something to be said for just being in the driver's seat at this point in the format.
Be the aggressor.
Now, David Martin's deck is very powerful. We didn't get to see a lot of that, unfortunately, due to mulligans and missed land drops.
Mulligans.
But, you know, there's something to be said for, I don't care what you're doing, it's not going to beat Chain to the Rocks into Mizium Mortars, into Anger of the Gods, into Blood Baron of Viscopa.
Yep.
You're just trying to play the most objectively powerful answer at every point on the curve. So, hopefully, David's luck improves over the night, draws a better mix of lands and spells, gets to play a little more magic.
There you go.
Yes. Mike Walters
Interact.
just gets to be the bad guy. Just reveling and being the bad guy.
Mike is out there just swinging for the fences.
So, that was round 3.
Round 3.
Join us back here in the booth, Ryan.
Noah.
With Dayton Magic Club Live, bringing you Magic the Gathering from Gamehaven in Riverside, Ohio. And we'd love to see you back for round 4, where we'll see if we can find something sweet. We've seen this green-white deck a couple of times.
Yeah.
And maybe it's time to get something a little zanier.
We will find something
find a brew for you.
Fresh.
And as we close in on round 5, where we'll start to see the tiebreakers play out and the people jockeying for position. And
crown our winner.
Absolutely. I can't wait. All right. That's round 4. Join us for round 5.